Okay, we are live. So, hi everyone. I'm Marianne. I'm a licensed insolvency trustee with Allen Marshall and Associates, and I'm also known as Dr. Debt. And I've been doing this Lunch and Learn series to help bring you some tips and advice on how you can save money on ... different things. So today I'm very excited to have Denise Garagan of Denny Services with me. And we're going to talk about how you can save money on financing stuff. So we're going to get into some of the most common vehicles, etc., and we'll talk about some other areas as well. My passion is helping you have happy, healthy finances. When I'm not at my day job, you will find me on social media under Dr. Debt, and I share tips, techniques, and strategies on how you can improve your finances. All right, so welcome, Denise.
Thank you, Marianne. It's nice to be here. Nice to be able to help and support what we can help customers with in their purchasing of a vehicle, because second to a home, it's the largest purchase. We're not doing $250 a month anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm very excited about this topic. Every day I have people that are talking to me, either they want to purchase a vehicle or they've already purchased one. There's mistakes that have been made. And so I'm really excited to dig into this. So before we do that, I'm going to ask you a few questions about yourself. And don't mind me if I glance away from the screen. I'm just getting Facebook up on my phone just so I can see any comments. And so tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the financing business.
So I started back in 81. I started as a service writer for a local dealership and moved in, did that for 15 years, and then had a chance for an opportunity to go into the finance side of the business and did that for 12 years and loved at that time. Credit situations were just starting to evolve. Mm-hmm. So I loved being able to help people get a car, be able to fit it in their means. So it was a great opportunity. 10 years ago, I started on my own, offering the warranties, creditor insurance, gap insurance. So been doing this for 10 years. We have a team of 5 in Atlantic, Canada that works with us.
Excellent. So you kind of answered this, but I'm going to ask you it anyway because it's on my list. So what made you get into the financing business? Did you happen into it? Was it a choice?
Quite frankly, I was tired of being a service writer. Every day I worked at a dealership that we did 100 cars a day. So every day I knew somebody was not going to be happy. And after 15 years, it did wear on me. So I loved the dealership life. I just wanted another opportunity. And the general manager actually saw something in me to put me in there. And he saw that I was about customer service. Because if you sell it right the first time, you don't have to worry about the second time.
I love that. And it's not surprising to me that they saw something in you. I can definitely see and appreciate that. So, and again, I think you kind of answered this, but what do you love most about what you do? Just to kind of highlight that point.
I love the fact I can be me, transparent, and I research products and programs and know my competitors. So I know when I'm offering a product and having a relationship that I'm giving the customer the best that I believe is on the market right now. And if there is another product out there, I actually explain that as well, because the customers need to be protected.
Yeah, that's a great ending comment and segue into what we're going to talk about. So let's get into tips on financing vehicles. And, I know there's kind of common mistakes that I see people make. We're going to talk about that. We're going to give some advice on what you can do when you're purchasing a vehicle, what to look at, a little bit of behind the scenes. So I hope that our viewers will be able to pick up some tips that will help save them money or save some mistakes that will cost them money. So we're going to start by talking about price. And so one of the things you and I have talked about is buy within your means, and shopping around for prices, negotiating, etc., etc. So tell me a bit about that and how that plays in.
I always recommend when you're going to purchase a vehicle, sit down, have a conversation. Don't just go out. Look at your budget. Look at what you can afford, because this is a 5-year minimum commitment. Some of them are going to 96 months. So this isn't something that you can just change and walk away within a year. And so by knowing what you can afford, buy within your means. of course, I would love to have a Mercedes top of the line, but I have to look at what can I afford monthly, because if you can't afford it, you become to hate it, no matter how much you loved it when you first went into it.
That's a really good point.
And always write down, and I still do today when I'm buying a vehicle, my 4 top necessities. Because otherwise you're looking at all the add-ons for equipment, but put down the 4 things that are important to you. Like, for instance, heated steering wheel is very important to me. So I have that on my list all the time. Coolant seats. Put down what you need, what your needs are. So someone's not trying to sell you needs that may not be yours. Get your 3 prices. Check out who you have the relationship with, how long they've been working there. You know, a digital age, some people are more comfortable dealing with people online. There's nothing wrong with that, but at least get your 3 prices and negotiate and see what they're going to offer you, and having that relationship, because they spend so much on advertising. They want you to come back. It's not a one-time deal. They want you to continually stay there.
There's a few things you said I'm going to kind of pull out of that, and as we're doing this, I'm looking out the window at my 2013 Honda Accord, and it's the 3rd Honda Accord that I've purchased, and I just happened to buy one used many years ago and fell in love with it, because you were talking about your kind of options. And when I bought the Accord used, all of a sudden I had heated seats and leather seats and a sunroof, and I actually remember, it wasn't that long ago when I got a CD player in my car, because I always buy older vehicles, and I was so excited. And at that point we were going digital, so I was still behind the times. And I actually want, one of my wish list is a heated steering wheel. So when you said that, so it's been interesting since I bought the first Accord that every time I've gone for another vehicle. So this is my 3rd one, and I kind of have that wish list, because now there's certain things, once you have it, you don't want to do without them. But, there's lots more things that I would like. However, and I'm going to share a little bit of my own story, because I've learned from not only my experiences, but also from my clients' experiences. And I just want to say hi to Maureen. So I asked her to send a comment, because I want to make sure our comments was working. So hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Thanks for popping in to see us. So when I went to get the car that I have now, basically I knew I wanted no more than $300 a month payment. I didn't want to pay for more than 5 years. I knew I wanted a Honda Accord EX, which is what I had previously. And so I went to the person I was dealing with at the time, and I said, this is my list. This is what I want. So we found it at a dealership in Bridgewater. They had it shipped over to Dartmouth. Basically, I went kind of sight unseen. I had already financed it, jumped in the car, took the keys, and bought it. So I've learned from my past mistakes, and so a couple things you said. One, make sure it's something you can afford, and I think I just want to point out the importance of what you can afford as a monthly payment is important, but length of time is also very important. Right? Like, I was buying an older vehicle. I didn't want to finance it more than 5 years, because I knew the cost of repairs would catch up. And I'm going to have a little self-confession thing. And I'm only human. Somehow I financed it over 6 years. Don't know how I did it. Obviously it was in the contract. I said 5 years. I didn't notice when I signed. And when I was looking at my balance last year, thinking I was done, this year realized I'd financed it 6 years. So I theoretically kicked myself in the butt for missing that. And it's costing me a fair bit to maintain it now, because I have 340,000 kilometers on it. And so I am in the situation that I tell people to avoid, where you're still making a car payment and paying for repairs. So it can happen to anyone if you're not paying attention. So going in, eyes wide open, know your budget, know what you can afford, know what you're signing is so important. So I love that.
Well, the other thing I look at, especially now, used car market has gone crazy. So the value of used cars have gone up through the roof, because it's really hard to get new cars. So the people that stuck within their budget, within their means, actually probably will have value in their vehicle.
Okay, that's
which is
interesting.
unheard of. That has not happened in years because of long terms, but we're starting to see an increase once Black Book value catches up to it. But People are paying more for used cars because they can't get new ones.
Okay. So why are people buying, are they not wanting to buy new ones, or is the supply, are you saying the supply is challenging?
So because of COVID, the supply has become very
Ah,
challenging because of chips, not because of the building of the vehicles, but the
mhm.
chips that we need, the computer chips and things like that to make the move, because a lot of them have gone very electronic and they can't get them. It's
Wow.
so because of that, because they can't get them, that's increased the value of used vehicles.
Isn't it amazing how everything just works all together? So who would think of that? We can't get chips.
No.
That's going to delay getting the vehicles finished. That's going to delay this. Like when we really kind of dig into this, pandemic and what's been happening, like it just all the pieces of it are so far reaching and so intertwined.
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
not have even thought of that.
Hmm.
So we talked about getting prices, shopping around. Talk a bit more
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah. So, obviously they're in sales. Obviously, uh, there's more times when you leave the dealership that you're probably going to buy somewhere else based on their tactics. But again, I'd like to reinforce, have a relationship, because we still are relationship people. So
Mm,
dealing with the person, not just based on the price and what has been highly suggested for you to take. You got to look at, if you have needs, can they help you? Are they going to be there for you? Look at the whole experience, because there's so many good people in this industry that are there to support you and want to stay with you. It's funny because there's some salespeople out there that actually sell their book of business.
okay.
So that's all about relationship. I've worked with some people that are still in it. They're still offering their services, and they know what it means. It's less harder to repeat than
Mm,
it is to get new. But
yeah.
prices and pressure sales, never feel uncomfortable. You are their customer. You are their customer. Ask the questions. If somebody brushes you off, that it might mean they may not have the answer, or they don't want to answer. Always ask for a Carfax. Always ask for, make sure you're protected with the vehicle you're purchasing. And what I mean by that, if there's severe damage on the vehicle and you did not know that, you have no recourse. So
Right.
having these questions, being prepared instead of just by how somebody's treating you, there's a lot of people who want to earn your business out there in this industry.
So a Carfax is a sheet that tells you about the vehicle you're purchasing. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, it discloses any claims that have been onto the vehicle. It's full disclosure.
Excellent. I feel like viewers need a checklist of things when they buy a vehicle. So if you have one or one exists that you know of, when we're done, we'll put it in comments, because I think it would be great to have a little checklist of, ask this, do this. Because I think too many people go in and they make what I call a heart decision versus a head decision, right?
Everybody, there's sometimes I remember one customer I had, and I was full disclosure with them. It was the first time I did 96 months. It was on a Civic. And I was like, this is such a wrong decision. And I disclosed what they were paying for the interest for the last 2 years. And I said, I really think if you can afford that 15 more dollars in a payment, then that is going to save you in the long run.
Mm,
And they still chose to do the 96 months. But I
yeah.
felt like, oh, at least I cared enough to give them the opportunity, right?
Yeah,
That's what
and
it's
and
about.
that's all you can do. And I remember a client from many years ago, and I think they had declared bankruptcy. And oftentimes, when someone goes through a bankruptcy, they may let a vehicle go. So, I mean, there's been many instances where someone has had a vehicle and they've refinanced and they've carried the balance forward from another one. Don't even get me started on that. It's probably the biggest mistake I see.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, they have a $40,000 loan on a $20,000 vehicle, and the vehicle needs repairs and they need to get out from underneath it. And so this one particular person, that was the situation, but they needed a vehicle for work. And so one of the things that I help my clients do is get financing for another vehicle. And I have resources like you, and I can connect them. But I always say, and my referral relationships are so important to me, because I want to know that you're going to treat, my client the same way that I do. Which is help look out for their best interests. So, I'll often say, just your interest rate's going to be high. And we're going to talk about interest rates in a second. So go and get something. Like, don't look for your dream vehicle. Like, get something reliable, get something at a decent price, know that the interest rate's going to be high, and then you can do a refinance or later, get another vehicle when it's paid off and the rate's lower. Anyway, this one person went to the person I referred them to, and they were going to put them in a sensible sedan, low price, 2 years. And then once they got out of the bankruptcy and got their credit report fixed up, they would get them in a better vehicle. Nope. Went to another dealership, bought a brand new $40,000 vehicle at, I think it was 17% interest. Just the worst decision they could have made. You know, I tried to talk them out of it. There was no way. But all you can do is give advice, point people in the right direction, and hope they make the decision that's best for them. And I suspect you run into that a lot.
Well, I always say, you know, this isn't forever. If you do pay your dues for the 2 years, typically they can get you out. How long is that just to be in a vehicle that you can afford? And your interest rate drops usually at least 5 points. If you've been, and the bank that you're currently dealing with, for the most part, will reoffer at a much lower rate. So 2 years, you're getting what you want. And that's what I used to say to people. You're paying your dues now, but it's not forever. It's not forever, right? So, and then you're in something affordable. Another time I had a customer come in, and I was working at a Ford store, and they said, so where do we return this lease? And I go, they were from Ontario. And I said, is it at the end of the lease, or, you know, what are you looking for? And they said, we can't afford the payment. And I went,
they thought they could just return it and not pay anymore.
Exactly. And I said, you have 2 more years of this payment. And it was a $750 a month payment. And I was like, and they were like, well, we don't want it. So I have to sit down and explain to them, even though we did not sell the car, their exposure, because it's considered a voluntary repo. That affects you just as much as a repossession. And it affects you same as you would see it in a bankruptcy. Like voluntary repo doesn't
whether
mean
you
you're
give
nice.
it back or they give it back, basically you didn't pay to the end of your contract. You broke your contract, and it impacts you the same way.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, at least they mentioned it to you before doing it so they could get some advice. That's so important, right? And I always try to stress that to individuals who are struggling financially. Like, ask the questions. Just don't make an impulsive decision that's going to come back and bite you in the butt. You know, reach out. You know, that's why I'm doing these interviews, so that, you know, if someone does have a question, by the way, anybody that is viewing, if you do have a question, just post it and we're happy to answer it. And I just want to say hello to Brenda. I see that you're watching, and Sarah, I see you're on there, so I just want to say hello to them. And let's go back and talk about, because one of the questions I had, or one of the comments, negotiate price. And so, you know, what are 2 or 3 things you can do to negotiate a price on a vehicle that you're purchasing?
So a big thing I had, because what I'm hearing out there right now is the price is the price. So because they can. And that's a rare opportunity too. So ask about getting things included. Snow tires, because people should have snow tires. That's a big thing. Maintenance plan, if they offer it. Extended service plan, even a discount, or try to ask for things that will help you with your budget. Because if you have to go buy snow tires, you're looking at $1,500.
Yes. I didn't even know you could do that and ask for snow tires to be in a price as part of your negotiation. So there,
I'm
I
famous
learned
for
something
that.
new. See, and that's the benefit of knowing these things. If you don't know, you don't ask. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, would you pretty much have to be buying a new car to have that negotiating power?
Nope.
Okay.
Used cars. The maintenance plan, there's probably a good chance the used car dealer does not offer it.
Yes.
But they have the extended service plans, and they have, because you look at this, you're fitting in a budget. So anything to do with that car that helps you with your budget, the snow tires, because you have to get to work.
Yeah.
And if it's a bad day, how are you going to get there? People are working from home, but that's not forever. And have an extended service plan. There's nothing better, being a next service writer, having your customer come in, they drop off their keys and they leave. and you don't see this fear written all over their face. How much is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
So there's great opportunities, but yeah, you're probably not going to be able to negotiate a price right now, but still get 3 prices because they may not have had to do more work to it. So what I mean by that, when you get a vehicle on a lot, they have a reconditioning cost. So they review that vehicle because they have to follow the motor vehicle guidelines. They review the vehicle and they fix it to put it on the lot. Well, everybody has different standards.
Right.
So there could be an opportunity where somebody fixes vehicle up pristine. You're going to pay a little bit more, but ask them what they did to it before they put it on the lot. Because if somebody didn't do brakes, didn't do oil changes, just stuck it on the lot, of course it's going to be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have other situations or problems in the future.
I see those going on that list of things to ask.
I'm going to have to do a sheet for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, and also, and the way I bought my vehicle is I just found what I wanted and then I financed it. I mean, you can do that, right? So if someone wants to buy something off Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, now it's a whole different sales process because there's not a salesperson and then you're not getting into, warranties, and the person on Facebook Marketplace probably isn't going to include winter tires unless they're already doing that anyway. But you can finance those as well, right? Like any vehicle from any place, you can help with the financing.
Exactly. The other thing I look at it, if you're buying on Kijiji, always ask why they're selling on Kijiji. So a couple reasons why somebody could be selling it. And I actually used to tell people, you're better off putting this vehicle on Kijiji because they're going to get more than, there's a certain price level where we cut it off in the car world, and they could make more money for themselves privately. They can still trade it in as a convenience deal so they get the tax benefit.
Right.
So that's something you can help your customers out with as well.
So I think I just heard you say, and I'm just going to make sure I got this. So someone could potentially buy a vehicle on Kijiji and then trade it in?
Well, no. So the person that is trading their vehicle,
yes,
they didn't like the value of the trade. So we say
they would go sell it, get that money, use that to put down on the vehicle.
And we show it as a trade so they get a tax benefit. And then the person buying the car, the only thing they need to do is a up-to-date safety inspection. And we get them to sign, basically sold as is because it's not our vehicle. We didn't recondition it. But I did that all the time, especially with older models, if we couldn't give them full value. Because think about this. This is a relationship you're building with somebody. If you can give them a few more dollars, and cars are selling fast now on Kijiji, any opportunity we can give the customer to help them more, that's what it's about.
Okay, very cool. Did not know that. So I know one of the things you and I talked about kind of behind the scenes, and I've seen this a lot, is pressure sales. And, and I just want to preempt this with, I have relationships with some really great car salespeople, and I do try to refer to people I know just because I want to make sure the person that's going to get the vehicle is treated fairly, and, and they're not going to be upsold, kind of like that gentleman, the story I told about from years ago. So, and I think you kind of spoke to this, in terms of like, go in with your list, know what questions to ask. Any other additional tips or advice you can give on kind of avoiding that pressure sale and that upsell?
Be adamant you're getting 3 prices.
Right. So going back to do your due diligence, get your 3 prices,
and ask them what makes
you
different. Ask them what makes them different. What makes you different? Why should I buy?
Why would I buy from you, or why would I buy from here? That's a great question. We're gonna have to listen to the replay and do a list from all these, right? Because we've got
I know. I got my homework. I got a homework.
That's right. So sorry, I kind of cut you off there.
I just say, it's not about them. It's about you. Don't forget that. Don't forget that, because you have to sit inside a vehicle. It was funny. My father sold cars, so I'll tell a quick story about him, how he used pressure sales tactic on his daughter. So I really, really wanted a Durango when I was working on the side. And I said, the only color I don't want is that maroon color. I can't stand that maroon color. And I said, I've had 2 vehicles that color. Bring me home anything. So I get home, What's in the driveway? A maroon.
Maroon.
And I was like, Dad, I hate that color. He goes, oh, you're sitting inside of it. He said, do you like the inside or do you like the outside? He goes, but you know what? In the end, I got what I wanted, the payment I wanted, and he was right. It was all about what was on the inside. It wasn't about the color on the outside.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
he knew my needs, like indirectly. Yeah, I say color, but he also knew it was more about equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. My first 3 or 4 cars, my dad was a mechanic. So I had cars since I was 16, but they were kind of things that people brought in.
Mhm.
They were too costly
Mhm.
to fix, and they left them with dad, and he fixed them up and put them on the road. So I had some interesting
I
vehicles.
bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anything else we want to talk about interest rates? So you can shop around for prices. I mean, I assume shopping around for interest rates. I mean, you'd want to do that as well. It's not just the price, but the interest that you're paying. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, people are notorious. Like I can't, how many times I had to explain to people, just because it's 0% doesn't mean you're getting the better deal.
Mm,
Because there could be banks are their interest rates are prime right now. They're trying to do financing. So always look at the rebates you're going to get them to do a comparison. I did comparisons all the time. So at 0%, this is where you would be in 3 years using the rebate, because remember this, if you pay off the loan early, you get interest relief anyways.
right.
So if you're paying less for the vehicle, there's going to be less owing.
Yeah.
But it might work out that like Honda is one, they normally don't offer both. So your 0% is true 0%. So again, do your research before you go in and know the difference rebates and 0% or lower interest rate.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I've never really got 0%. So, how can anybody do 0%? Because the finance company, they're not making any money. So
Well,
why are they doing 0%?
the finance company is actually owned by the manufacturer. So the manufacturer is giving them money
Ah,
to finance a vehicle to keep you in instead of offering rebates.
okay. So
Right.
that's why when you said like Honda Finance, because they're a specific financing place, and so they would get paid based on the sale of the vehicle. That's why they're doing the 0% financing. And I've always said that to people, like, there's no such thing as 0%. They're making their money somewhere. And so I never really talked to anyone about this, but I always felt like the price on the vehicle is higher because an amount of that's going somewhere. So
Correct.
I think, so you're
Correct.
validating that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about comfort zone. So, and the one thing about 0%, if you are going to get an extended service plan, put it in there and not on your credit card.
Yes, of course. Right. That
Right.
makes sense.
So,
So then I never even thought of that. So then you're putting that through the 0% as opposed to your credit card. If you don't pay it off in full
correct.
every month and you're paying, whatever, 10%, 15%, 20%,
Right.
no
And
more
then
than that.
I know, yeah. Well, unfortunately,
Hopefully
that's a
no
big
more than
market.
that.
It's a big market out there right now. 20
Yeah.
to 30%.
Right. Okay. Because that's interesting. So then if you did that through the bank and you got a lower rate just because of the way the rates are, but you got a break on the vehicle. And so you weigh those out and look at your total cost, basically.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Which, as the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm knowing that is the one thing that most people don't do because it's not their forte. I mean, we're in the industry, so we look at, interest rate and total cost and all of that. But I mean, I know that, for many, it's, what do I need for a vehicle? And sometimes it's, I need a vehicle fast because theirs broke down and they need to be able to get to work or, take the kids places when we're allowed to go places. And so it's an impulsive decision, and they are the worst decisions because they usually bite you in the butt financially.
And keep in mind now, finally, all the dealers have got into the digital world. So everything's fast now. So this is the best time to buy a vehicle to get full disclosure and full discussion.
Oh, okay.
They're
Good to
doing
know.
curbside deliveries. I can't get over how much the car business has evolved in just a year. It's amazing. It's amazing what they have done. And kudos to them, because you imagine your whole it's all relationship. And now you've just been
Right.
told you have none.
Yeah. I think
People
we're
are
seeing so
scared.
many changes in the way people do business over the last year. So it's been very interesting, and it'll be very interesting to see what sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about length of loans. Just out of curiosity, what's the longest loan that you've seen someone take out on a vehicle?
96 months on a new,
Okay.
typically 84 on a used.
Yeah.
And
So I got to do math. So 96 is
8.
8 years, right? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Wow, that's a long time. I mean, even on a brand new vehicle, I guess if you don't put a lot of kilometers on, it could potentially be okay. But if you're putting lots of kilometers, that repair bill is going to start creeping in pretty heavily around year 6, 5, 6, I'm thinking.
Well, and do a research on what the factory warranty is,
Mm,
because they're all different out there. Some are 480, some are 360 for full inclusive, but they have the powertrain extended. Some are 5100 all inclusive. So
mm,
do your research on that, especially if you're doing a longer term. Make sure you're protected so you can budget. There's nothing wrong with a longer term if you're looking at the full payment and affordable,
yeah.
if you know you're fully protected. There's something wrong if at year 3, now your engine goes and you have no coverage. That's when you see problems. That's when
Right.
people can't afford $3,000 to $5,000 in repairs right now.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
surprises. Those aren't planned events.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And yeah, I'm getting tires on my car this week, and it's I think $600 or $700 just for that, and the oil change will be close to 8. And I mean, that's somewhat within my plan, but still above what I've been able to plan for. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for making sure that you budget for your car repairs and maintenance, and even brand new cars. When I do budgets with people and estimate what they spend, I always put in $50 to $100 a month, even if it's a brand new car completely under warranty, just because, there's still things that you do, and buying tires and etc.
Wiper blades.
Yeah. Wiper blades. Yeah. They're
Wiper
not
blades.
cheap, and you can't get those
They're
buggers on. You got to
not
get
cheap.
someone to put them on, because
Yeah.
I can't figure it out.
I hate doing them, and I know how to do them
So,
because they always come off in the rain or in the snow, and it's
yeah,
always when you
that's
get a
not good.
problem. Yep.
You're in trouble when your wiper blade goes flying off. So let's talk about insurances. And so one thing that came up when we were discussing financing was gap insurance. So can you tell us a bit about that and explain what that is and why someone would want it?
So when I first got in the business, our normal terms were 2 years for lease. For us to do a 3-year was extraordinary. The
Mm,
finance was 48 months. Then it went to 60, which was a big deal. And now we're at 96. So what's happening is because the extended terms have created more affordable payments. So
right.
people are buying what they really, really want. And so they know with these longer terms, they can afford it. But what could happen is, so say if they want that other car in 3 years' time, so
Hmm.
your insurance provider is responsible for the vehicle that you're purchasing, not the fact that you've added deficit to the loan.
Right.
That is not insured. That's not part of the problem.
So this is
So
when you trade in a vehicle, there's a loan on the vehicle. Let's say you owe 8,000 on your old vehicle.
right,
That 8,000 is being carried forward into the new vehicle, but
correct,
the lender is now only insuring for what you've paid for the car, not that additional amount, right?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Is that the
So
gap?
GAP basically pays. There's
Ah,
different calculations, and research those programs as well, because there's some programs out there currently that really aren't going to pay the full amount, and there's some
mhm,
that will come close based on how much deficit that you bring in. The ones that actually define the amount they're going to pay for deficit and define the amount they're going to pay for the vehicle, those are the ones that are really supportive of their true gap insurance. There are some that are, they say they're gap, but they're a warranty, not an insurance product. So verify it's an insurance product, because the program I carry is actual insurance program. So
mhm.
we're regulated provincially and federally to follow the rules. A warranty, you just have to ensure that it's fully insured to be on a lender's contract. But gap insurance, we are very regulated. It's just like a life insurance policy, a disability insurance. We fit into those categories. So always just verify what you're buying, ask for the terms and conditions, review them. It,
Mm.
it's right in black and white. You don't want to see the black and white when you have a claim.
Right. And yeah, and that kind of takes me to another, tip, and I'll probably do another interview on this sometime, which is read your contracts. I did a little blog
Yep.
post on that. I got a credit card in and I went through the contract agreement and read it, which, nobody does that. We
No one.
just browse them. So I thought I'm going to do this just for fun. So I want to come back to gap insurance for a moment, just so I truly understand, because even that's not something I've ever really looked at. So when does an insurance payout happen for gap insurance?
Total loss. So, and that's another thing. There's some companies that have it in gray matter, I call it.
Mm,
They will not cover if it's a mechanical write-off. So if your brakes fail, your heated seats catch on fire. And I say
mm,
this because I've paid claims in those situations. So if it's total loss, stolen, written off, that's when gap comes into play.
right. And
So,
this is in addition to I'll use myself as an example. So I have vehicle insurance on my vehicle, but
mhm,
if I had traded in and there was an amount owing, I would then go to you to get gap insurance to cover off that extra. Because if I didn't and something happens to my car, it might cover what I purchased the car for, not this other amount. But of course, now we're digging into other instances where you may not get even that insurance claim.
like back to what you said, read your contract. In Atlantic Canada, gap insurance is sold typically at a dealership.
Mm,
So they would be the ones offering it to you, and ask them how it pays. I used to do sample payouts. So based on where you are, this is where you would be, because I've had people write off their car, leaving the store.
oh, wow.
Yes,
That's bad.
exactly. And another one, my first gap claim, it was 4 hours later. And to top it all off, the stepfather had signed for the daughter for her to get the car.
Oh, no. You're
And
having a bad day when?
yes, and it was her first car, but the she didn't have taxes covered with their insurance company. I have no idea that wasn't that's so we pay gap insurance will look after the claim once the insurer pays out. So
Mm,
you can't start the claim till because then you're interfering with the insurance policy, and that is a big no-no.
okay. So your
Yeah.
regular insurance has to be dealt with first, and then the gap
Then
insurance will come into play if
yep,
you have it and if you're eligible.
yeah. And in Atlantic Canada, I will say this with our program, our average payout is just shy of 9,000.
Oh, okay. On
And
gap insurance.
on gap insurance. And
Yeah.
you think of this, if you have to add 9,000 to a loan without an asset, well, Marianne, it's
Mm.
almost impossible, or you're going to be paying through the roof for an interest rate because no one wants that deal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I'll throw in my little tip, which is don't carry a balance forward into a new car loan if you can avoid it. Please do not do that. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see made. Some people don't even realize they've done it. It's so scary. But if you do that, please check into gap insurance. So at least if something happens, you're protected for that extra amount that you have on your vehicle.
And the highest losses in automobile insurance is New Brunswick
Oh, really?
in Atlantic Canada, just so you're aware.
Okay.
And so if you look at the risk where you live, what you're paying, and see if something happens. We had a person with a Jeep, and 6 months later they wrote it off. Their claim was $28,000.
Oh my goodness.
You
Wow.
imagine, Marianne, like there's sometimes I did deals and I was like, please don't write this off before Gap came. Like,
Yeah.
please, you're going to be in a really bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's scary.
Mhm.
Okay. So down payments, trades, anything else you want to add on that? That was one of the things I made a note of. We did talk about that and I learned something new with the, using your selling on Kijiji and using that money. So yeah,
Yeah.
anything else you want to add?
Well, typically trades, as I mentioned, it gives you a tax break. Cash does not, but cash may make it more affordable.
Mm,
And if there is a non-prime situation, you will be asked for cash down.
okay.
So if you can come up with it, please do. Don't add it to the value of the vehicle because you're just adding on more headaches.
Mm,
If you want that vehicle, come up with that 1,000 or 1,500. It will save you $20 a month.
Okay. And non-prime, of course, is if you have some kind of credit issue, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, and you're going with a non-tier lender, or ABC is what I usually hear them referred to, but I think there's other terms as well, but not the top lender, not the major banks, it's some other lender. So
Right.
they typically will require down payment.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So, and I think the only other point I had on financing vehicles was warranties, which I think we talked about. Again, anything else that you want to add on that before we get into credit scores and chat a little bit about that?
Well, I always look at warranties gives you, it's probably the only product out there that you pay today to secure pricing for tomorrow.
Hmm.
So coming out of COVID, so many people have had expenses. Door rates are going to go up. They're going to have to pay their people more. And with that, if you have an extended warranty, you don't care because that's all included in that payment. So you
Mm.
can budget for tomorrow, especially if you're budget conscious, and always ask what type of warranty are you getting. Make sure the warranty is in a very extensive, not just a regular powertrain. Make sure it will protect you for air conditioning and look at the equipment on your car and make sure you're protected for that. And that's the one thing I found when I was a service writer. They spent a couple thousand on a warranty and
Hmm.
then they would show up and it wasn't covered, but it could have been,
Yes. And
right?
it's like insurances. I mean, it's one of those things that, it's extra, and if you need it, you benefit. And so one of the controversial things that I've kind of run into, and I've wondered about myself personally, is extended warranties. Yes or no? Your thoughts?
I buy them. Um, Majority of the technicians I work with buy them and they can
Yeah.
fix them, but they got to pay for parts.
Right.
But in saying that, buy the right warranty. It's just like good and bad with everything. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones. Make sure the warranty company is a true roadside. What I mean is if you get towed to the dealership and it was your battery, it's covered. Make sure you get a rental coverage with it. Make sure they pay the retail door rate of the repair facility, retail labor guide, MSRP on parts, because otherwise the repair facility is going to make you pay
Mm.
and collect. So always investigate the warranties. Google is amazing. You'll be able to find out if they're good, bad, or ugly.
Oh, for reviews, you mean?
Yes, check
Yes.
them out. Check
Yeah.
them out and ask questions. There's no harm. Ask more questions because what I'm seeing right now is some warranties that not only cap, but they're being charged a fortune for them and it's not fair. There is no
Mm.
regulation on that side, so keep in mind. And so the customer shows up and they're still going to have a repair bill, and that's not how anybody should offer a warranty. When they're covered, again, they buy again.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know when I bought my car, I did take the warranty. What I didn't realize, this goes back to being aware, and so much we don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, is I went and had work done, and then I looked up my warranty because I had scanned it in and it was covered, but I had to present it before I had the work done. So I couldn't even get the work covered, note to self. I know that now, but I mean, there's so many instances like that where, we spend money we don't need to, or we don't save what we can just simply because we don't understand the contract or what we're getting into or what we are getting and not getting, which is why it's so important to
Mhm.
have the relationship, to ask the questions, to get someone to explain it to you.
And you know what? If somebody paid for the repairs and they came back to us, I would get it covered. It'd have to
Mm,
be like a year later or something like that. That's a little bit different. But
yeah.
I always say, tell the story. If the story makes sense, I'm going to support you because again, I know you invested in your car, invested in the warranty. If people can afford, it's funny. I'll tell another little story. I had somebody coming in, always bought a warranty company, and he was buying the warranty price compared to where it used to be was 2,000 more based on the model he was buying. And I was like, oh, he's never going to buy this warranty. Anyways, he bought it. And so
Yeah.
I waited till he signed. And so afterwards I said, can I ask you why? Not that I don't want you to buy it, but why? He said,
Yeah.
I don't like a hassle. I
Mm,
don't like negotiating. I don't like a hassle. I want to drive away. I bought an expensive vehicle. It was 75,000. I want
Yeah.
to drive away and forget about it, because he said, if you don't treat me the way I should be treated, I won't be back.
Good
And
point. I love that.
so everybody's different in their needs, and what you want. In a Honda store, I always build the value of what a warranty meant when you traded it in.
Right.
Because if a vehicle has been undercoated and had a warranty on it, a dealer will give them more money for it, because they don't have to do the research on the car, less cost for them. So it's all based on affordability, calculation, and results. So because we know typically Hondas very rare breakdown. But
Yeah.
if they do, it's still going to cost. But if you can get the value when you trade it in, that adds into the calculation.
Awesome. I'm learning so much. I'm super excited now. But when I go buy my next car, I'm going to make sure I listen to this before I go in and get that checklist that
You'll be
we've been
taking me
talking
with
about.
you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I know I'll be going. And that warranty example I gave you, I went to the company and there was no way they weren't going to cover it, which, again, a testament to dealing with someone like, and trust, because it makes all the
Exactly.
difference in the world, other than a toll-free number, person on the end of the phone you have no relationship with.
No, no.
Yeah.
And that's, you never know who you're going to meet in the future. If it's a
Yeah.
bad experience, they're going to remember you. You may forget them, but
Yes.
they'll remember you. And that's what I always did. I came from Walt Disney World. That's where I had my training back in the day. And, you always look about the whole experience.
Yeah. I bet you had some interesting training there, because they're such an integral company
Oh,
that I can totally see how that would be such a great foundational training.
intense. But yes, it set
Yeah.
the precedent for how I do business today. Really.
Yeah. If I had the ability on my screen to do effects, I'd put little Mickey Mouse ears on your head, but I don't know how to do that. So we are getting close to the end of the time, but I want to talk about credit scores, because this is near and dear to
Yes.
my heart in terms of my industry and what I do. And I feel like, we might do a longer segment on this at another time so we can get into it a bit more. But you said something that I think is really important. And I've mentioned this to people, and again, without really knowing whether it worked for them or not, or helped or not. And that is, bring your credit score with you. And I've often said, check your report, know your score, take it going in. And I've often wondered if, when they do that, does the person still do a credit check? Will they use that information? Will avoid that credit hit? So yeah, let me know.
So the thing I look at this, you can't tell who's sitting behind that seat. So with you walking in with a credit score, as I mentioned before, we have our app that it's very easy to log in. You get both Equifax and TransUnion. So you know exactly what your score is based on whatever lender they're using. You walk in with it, then they're not sending it out to your credit application to every lender to see who will buy it. They're actually going to know with your credit score who's going to buy your paper. So it becomes a soft hit instead of a hard hit. Because a hard hit, if you get multiples of those, that customer just could lose up to 100 points on their beacon score, and they didn't even know they did that. So this happens a lot to young people when they're buying their first car. So they just got out of university. They're going in. They have a cell phone that they might have missed a payment on. Then you have a dealer that sent it out to 7 different places to see, instead of doing their research and finding where to put it. Then it affects their credit, and they may get that car, but you imagine in 6 months they want to go get something else. No, they're
Yeah.
not. That's your score, nobody else's. So if you know it, be prepared going in. I always believe, know who you are and what you are before you go shopping. We know how much money we have in our bank. Why wouldn't you know your score in order to protect you? Because that's how you're defined with a lender.
Yeah.
And there's new lenders out there right now. The one we use, we go as low as 500 beacon score, and the rates are from 6 to 13. So we're not going to punish you in the 20 to 30. So make sure you shop around again, and make sure you're being protected and offered every option you can have.
So obviously that works for you. So if I'm going to buy a car and I'm coming to you and I bring you my score, you have it. Do you think that most vehicle financing people or places, would they all honor that? Some of them, do you have any sense of that?
To me, if they don't, then that's
You
one of your three you can
maybe
check
someone you
off.
don't deal with if they're not. So again, another great question. So and even, even before you go look, I'm coming in to look at a vehicle. I have my credit score. I will bring that with me and just make sure
Mhm.
that they are not going to do a credit check. Now you have to authorize it, so you should be pretty sure anyway.
If they use, just a tip, if they use a generic credit app, they can send it to whoever.
Okay.
Okay,
Great. Because that's
so
one of the things I've always loved about brokers. Like they can get your score and then
yep,
they can present that. And I know that doesn't always happen even because I've had clients who've run into issues, but I've always said, ask them to do that, which is what you're talking about, right?
exactly. If somebody isn't educated in that position and doing the financing and know where to put you with the credit score, they're not there to help you. They're not there
Mm.
for that relationship. They're there to sell the car.
Yeah, yeah. I had two stories I'll share quickly on that. So I do presentations for government employees who are retiring. And so I do a segment on money management and credit. And so one of the guys in the workshop, this was probably 3 years ago or so, he was buying a car. And so he went and shopped around. He went to 3 dealerships and he didn't give them authorization to do credit checks, but each one did a credit check. And by the time he got to the third one, he no longer qualified for the
Oh,
loan. Now he was able to get it rectified, but
oh
he had to
no.
go back. He had to report them. He had to get them to lift it. It delayed him buying a vehicle by weeks. And so, that one little simple thing for those listening, that one thing, if you just take that away from watching this interview, that's something that will save you aggravation, save you time, save you money. So that was, one of many, many incidences. Now I forget what my second story was going to be. But that's okay. If it comes to me, I'll share it. But so many there's just been so many instances that I've had and stories that I've had of people who have just had really horrific experiences with credit reports. Oh, I remember the other one. I forget if I talk long enough I would. So this was interesting because we never got to the bottom of this. So this person went to get a vehicle and they did a credit check, and then what happened is the same dealership or the same financing company, I'm not sure if it was dealership or financing company, they kept doing credit inquiries, and they ended up with like it was like an inquiry every month from this person, this place. They never did really figure out why it was happening. The most that the best we could figure out was that they were still trying to see if they could get them approved for a vehicle, and they kept
Yep.
representing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
It
that
destroyed their
used
credit.
to happen. I don't. I hope it doesn't happen these days,
Mm.
but it did used to happen because I used to see people where I worked. We actually were trained to read credit bureaus, so we booked the deal based on. Well, they called me the storyteller, and so I booked the deal based on the person, situation, and score.
Mm.
So there was back then though there'd be times I see 10 inquiries over a year and I'm like, oh, you need to call
Yeah.
these people right now. They're destroying your credit.
Yeah.
And then they give the good people, because there's a lot of good in this industry, a bad
Yes.
name. So
Absolutely.
when they walk in somewhere else, they're very defensive and they think they're not getting the deal, but not everybody's doing it the same way. I won't say who it was, but I went into a store and was talking about full coverage warranty, and they said, no, we do only this warranty, and I just sell it for this. And I said, maybe you might want to put that on your sign out there for your customers so that at least they know when they're pulling in here what they're getting. Um,
Mm.
that's when I get angry about this industry, when you make it about you and not the consumer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I know in
I
this
get so
instance,
angry.
it was
Yeah,
probably about a year and a half ago, and yeah, just destroyed their
that's
credit, and
terrible.
it was awful. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a hot topic. I think I'm going to defer this and actually do a whole nother interview on it. And
Okay.
we'll get more into credit bureaus reports, but I do know that you have something called the Marble platform. And what we'll do is we'll get the link in when we do when the video post is there, we'll put the link in the comments so that if someone wants to check it out, they can. And the Marble platform is a way that you can monitor your score and tell me just a little bit more about what that is, so our viewers know.
Yeah, so the thing I look at that with the Marble platform, so typically people know their beacon score. And it's like anything else. You may want to increase it to get a better score. Better
Mm.
score means better interest rates. So it actually takes your bank account monthly and provides you with what the steps you need to do in order to get to that beacon score every
Yeah.
month. There's a lot of times we say no, or you have this interest rate, but no one tells them what do you do, because we can't. We're not allowed to tell them, number one. By having this, and when you walk into a dealership, if you have this program, you show them, they don't need to check your score. It's right in
Okay.
front of them, and it's a soft hit. So when
Excellent.
they are working with you, it's not adding another hit to your credit. It's a credit coach program, is what I call it. There's a lot of credit score apps out there right now, but
Yeah.
there's no one that does the coaching.
Yeah. I
This
was
is
going.
in the coaches.
Yeah, and I was gonna make that distinguish between that, because of course you have Equifax and TransUnion, which
Mm-hmm.
is the main place you go, and you can get your information. If you have an issue, you can call them, and if you're really, really, really lucky, someone will actually talk to you and help you figure out what to do. Very frustrating program. And then you have Credit Karma and Borrowell, which I'm a huge fan of, in terms of just signing up and being informed, because too many people aren't informed. Again, I'll do a whole interview on this. But then what yours does is it kind of fills that gap in terms of, allows you to be informed, allows you to get the information, but then it gives you some good tangible things that you can do to get the score up, which is really that missing piece, which is why I do a lot of blog posts and information, and I have a Facebook page just on maximizing your credit score, just because it's an area that most people don't understand, and it's frustrating as anything. The whole system is frustrating.
Well, I
I'm very
believe it should
passionate
be.
about this. Can you tell?
I believe it should be taught. No, I'm just as passionate,
Yeah.
because nothing worse than telling somebody they got to pay 21.9%, and it was a hiccup in their past.
Yeah.
Bad things happen to really good people.
Yeah.
And all the years I was in F&I only ever had one person that made fun of their credit. So that tells you that most of the part, people don't want to be in that situation. But
Mm,
I've been an advocate. I think this should be taught in high school. It
agreed.
should be taught in university. They sign up, they walk in, they get a credit card that day, but no one teaches them about credit. Like, it just seems to be an oxymoron to me. Here, take this, go jack it up, and you won't be able to get anything for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because
Agreed. Completely agree.
and then they would graduate, come see me to get their student rebate, and then I'd have to tell them you don't qualify.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
anyways, it's just, I think more and more, I love what you're doing. Training on beacons. This is like your body. Your beacon score is your body. This means your worth. When you're everybody wants new things. Everybody wants to buy something,
Yeah.
and you should know, and you should be in charge of yourself.
Well, playing on my Dr. Debt, it's the heartbeat of your well-being in the credit industry. Like, it
It
really
is.
is, right?
It
It
is.
really is. Okay, so we have to bring this to a close, but I'm going to defer that conversation. I'm definitely going to set up an interview. I might even do a panel, bring a few people in, and we'll just talk a lot about credit bureaus and reports, because
Yeah.
there's so much to say. But I just want to end off with, you finance more than just vehicles, right? I mean, it's not just vehicle financing. So, and I know there's a big long list, but just give me an example of some other things that you help finance for people besides
Um,
everything, which is probably the answer.
Yeah, we finance everything, whether it's a building, equipment you want, boat you want, anything.
Yeah.
We
So that
look after
storage
it.
building that you want to put in your backyard, you can go to Denise and she can help you finance it. That backhoe for sale on Facebook Marketplace that you can't afford cash, you can reach out
Send
to
them to
Denise
me.
and she can help you finance it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much anything that you want to purchase that's outside of your cash cash on hand
Yep.
capabilities, you can finance. And if you haven't figured this out already, she's one of my trusted resources. She cares about your well-being. She's going to be upfront, and she's going to help you find the solution that's best for you.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Relationship financing is what I call it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a perfect ending note.
Yeah.
So, so I'm going to close off with take the time to do some research before you go purchase that vehicle or whatever else. Talk to an expert who can guide you through the process.
Hmm.
And Denise is a great resource for me. She's a great resource for those that I know. And now she's a great resource for you because
Hmm.
you know she exists. Her email is in the little ticker that's going across the bottom. So you can get that there, but we will put the website in the comments section on Facebook and YouTube so that that's available as well. And I just want to thank you, Denise. This has been fun. Thank you for hanging
Thank
out
you.
with me. I learned a lot. I'm excited about my next car purchase. One, because I have an awesome resource, but two, I know some new things that I need to look at, which I think is going to make me a better informed consumer, which is what I'm hoping this interview and the ones I do will help everyone be.
Thank you. You should
Yeah.
enjoy the experience, not dread it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so besides that last comment, is there any last thing that you want to say about financing, or do you just want to sum it up into a statement?
I look at it, just look at the whole experience, look at the relationship, look at the price, the value, and your budget. Just
Mm,
keep it simple. Don't let somebody coerce you into something that you really don't. Go with your gut. If you're not comfortable, don't deal with it.
yeah. Be an
Yep,
informed consumer.
exactly.
Excellent. Thank you,
Good ending.
Denise. All
Yeah,
right.
thank
Well,
you.
I'm already looking forward to our next talk about credit bureaus and credit ratings. So I'll make sure to reach out to you to do that. Everyone that's viewed, thanks for tuning in. The replay, of course, will be there for everyone as well. And you have a great day, Denise. And
You as
together
well.
we'll do our part in changing the world financially, one person at a time.
Exactly.
All
Have a good
right.
one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.